Welcome back to Better Know a Commander. Here on episode 4, we're going to look at 4 different commander decks. Tons of power in each of them. We've got Kalamax, the Storm Sire, Tasigur, the Golden Fang, Miirym, Sentinel Worm, and Rick, Steadfast Leader. So make sure you like and subscribe, share this video, and hit that bell icon to receive notifications for other Better Know a Commander videos. Let's get to the deck techs. It's time to power up the electric Stegosaurus himself. Let's do a little work for Josh on Kalamax, the Storm Sire. So some key things about Kalamax is you want to be trying to cast a spell on everyone's turn, and Kalamax needs to be tapped. And Kalamax is going to get really big. So if you need your commander to be tapped, there's no better way than sticking them in vehicles. A Stegosaurus driving a helicopter? Yep, we're doing that. A Stegosaurus hopping in a chariot? Powered by cats? Yep, we're doing that too. It turns out Kalamax is also a mana dork when you have Springleaf Drum. Any of these things are good effects. It gets Kalamax tapped on your turn, so you can use him every turn. He's going to be one of the bigger creatures on the battlefield, but until then, you need to be able to tap him and keep him tapped. So this is a good way to do it. Also, because you're trying to play a spell on everyone's turn to get the most value, you get to include Wilderness Reclamation, which is super busted. And because we're trying to play 1 to 4 spells around the table every go of it, we need Archmage Emeritus. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, draw a card. So cast a spell, draw a card. Cast a spell, draw a card. It's going to be great. Magecraft is definitely where you want to be here. Because we're trying to untap all our lands, we want to put as many lands on the battlefield as we can. So Harrow copied is real nice. You don't have to sack an additional land because a copy isn't a cast. And Crop Rotation allows you to go get the best 2 lands in your deck now. That seems really good, especially if you're playing Gaia's Cradle or Nykthos. One more way to tap Kalamax is Relic of Legends. This is new in the last year and really good when you need your commander tapped. You get to play Rashmi, Eternity's Crafter, one of my favorite cards of all time. Sit there and do nothing, and in this case you're casting an instant on everyone's turn, which means you might be able to flip into more free spells. So some of the best ways to finish off the table are things like Comet Storm. You just have to multi-kicker it once because you're going to copy it and dump all your mana into it to take out the table. You can also Twinferno Soul's Fire, which is like as rock and roll of a name as you can get in an EDH game, so that's pretty cool. Kalamax is going to be real big at the end of the game, so doing this to someone or multiple people will be great. And last but not least, copying Berserk when Kalamax is already on the table and attacking is going to be nutty. Let's say he's at 8 power. You get to double 8, so he goes to 16, and then you get to double 16, so he goes to 32. And if you have a fling to throw him at someone else after this, before you sacrifice Kalamax, that's even better. So, lots of instants, probably minimal creatures, but that's okay. And you get to talk about putting your Stegosaurus inside of a helicopter, so there's nothing wrong with that. Hope that helps. I bet you didn't know we could play Control in Casual Commander. Little Elden Beast wants to play a blue-black X deck, and I have just the thing. I was a little leery about doing this, but then I started seeing the cards that we get to play, and I thought, yeah, we're doing it. So we get to start off right away by playing the Banana Man himself, Tasigur the Golden Fang. We are into Sultai. That means control, that means graveyards, that means all things good that are blue and black, plus you get to make land drops. How are you going to make all the land drops, you ask? Well, you get to play my favorite green card of all time, Life from the Loam. It has Dredge 3, which means you get to fill up your graveyard. With Dredge 3, I have to go back to Tasigur, because although he's a 6 mana commander, he's only ever going to cost 1 black to cast. Your deck's designed to fill up its graveyard and delve away cards you don't need, and so even the commander tax that you would have to pay if he gets put away, you can pay by delving cards. Okay, back to my favorite green card. So Life from the Loam allows you to pick up 3 lands from the graveyard. That means you can play expensive fetches or budget fetches. It doesn't really matter. You just are never going to miss a land drop because you're always casting Life from the Loam and then dredging it back to your hand the next turn. You also get to play my favorite blue card of all time, Search for Azcanta. This flips into a land, Azcanta the Sunken Ruin, And that card has an impulse on it. Look at the top 4, put a non-land, non-creature card into your hand. Just great value late game, and blue ramp is so hard to come by. Plus, it fills your graveyard. The fairest windfall deck of them all. You get to play this as well. Cards in your graveyard essentially is a second hand for you, so you really get to abuse the fact that your graveyard's out in the open and available to you at all times. New card alert, we've got Likeness Looter. Plus, you can turn it into any creature that is in your graveyard, which I think is really, really cool. I had this turned into a Phyrexian Dreadnought against me recently, and that was scary. Now, Beseech the Mirror is expensive, but this is actually a budget pick. You're going to play Beseech the Mirror, and you're going to play Gaia's Will, and this is going to be like a $50 alternative to playing actual Yawgmoth's Will. You Beseech the Mirror, and use the bargain to go find Gaia's Will and cast it for free, and then you get your whole graveyard to access for just 3 black and 1. I think this is really awesome. It's part of powerful Legacy Storm decks right now, but also you can do it just for value, because if you're playing just casual, then no one wants you storming out of your graveyard to win the game. You also get to play Neoform, which is just such an awesome card from War of the Spark. Since Tasigur only costs 6 mana, well, 1 mana, but 6 on the battlefield, you can Neoform him into some of the best 7-drops ever printed. So let's take a look at a few. You can turn Tasigur into the Hullbreaker Horror. You can turn him into Toxrill the Corrosive. And you can turn him into the best Mystic Remora ever in Nezahal the Primal Tide. So 3 big, beady baddies. That's always a recipe for success in my book. You might put those guys in your graveyard as you use Tasigur's ability or play Windfall or whatever, so you're going to want a copy of Reanimate in your deck. And of course, you get to play the littlest Planeswalker, Deathrite Shaman. 3 abilities, 1 mana to cast, ramps you, drains the table, doesn't die to Bowmaster immediately, all really good things. Now, if you excuse me, I actually am going to go build this deck. Hope this helps. Alright, this is going to be wild. We're jumping in to play Temur Dragons in CEDH. I want to be up front and say this is definitely going to be on the fringe archetype status. But I think I got something here that'll wet your whistle, if you will. So we got Miirym Sentinel Worm. This thing is just disgusting. 6 mana, and your dragons come in with other dragons. Wild stuff. Hard to get rid of with Ward 2. And we're playing in Temur, so that means we're going to get tons of mana ramp, and we get tons of creature tutors as well. You know the kind. Worldly Tutor, Eldritch Evolution, Neoform, all absolute staples in a Temur deck. So, where are we going with this? Well, let me show you. It's a Dragonstorm deck, baby! Our goal is going to be to make infinite mana, tutor up Dragonstorm, and do the following. Hit him with the Storm, put Terror of the Peaks onto the battlefield first, and then dump a bunch of clones and other dragons onto the battlefield to win the game in a really unique way, especially for CEDH. Still infinite stuff though, so I definitely think it fits the bill. Because this deck needs to make tons of mana, you're going to want to play Kinnan Bonner Prodigy. It just makes sense to turn your mana rocks into things that make way more mana. Dragons have ETBs, so we actually might get to play Panharmonicon here, especially because it goes so nicely with Terror of the Peaks. We also get to get pretty aggressive, so I think Dragon Tempest might even fit into this deck. How about a little dragon-themed Future Sight action with Corlessa Scale Singer? If you don't like this, you could play Reality Chip. You might not even need it, though. Astral Dragon Suite as something to hit the table. Renari Merchant of Marvels might fit into the deck as well, giving all your dragon spells and artifact spells flash. It's Temur, so you can easily fit in Niv-Mizzet Perun and Curiosity to get that win out of the way. And I think the easiest way to make infinite mana would be with Isochron Scepter and Dramatic Reversal. But yeah, this is definitely something that could happen. You're definitely going to be on the high end of CMC, but like, it's a Kinnan deck with red, so you're getting Dockside Extortionist and stuff as well. I think there's lots here. Take a look. A shell that maybe would be similar would be something like Temur Pirates, Malcolm and Tana, or maybe just even straight up Animar. That cheats on mana in a different way though, so I don't know. Hope that helps. Okay guys, I need to show you something. We're talking mono white humans with Rick, Steadfast Leader. We got a monocolor aggro deck, and that's a great place to be. Get wide, swing out, end the game soon, end games often. Having 3 abilities to choose from when you play Rick will be up to you. I'm guessing that First Strike and Vigilance are the ones you're going to want. Lifelink becomes less and less relevant as you play in games, I think. First up, let's get some brand new cards into the deck. I'm loving Throne of Eldraine for monocolor decks. It taps for 4 white mana right away in this deck, and later on you can draw cards and keep good times rolling. Nothing like having a Discerning Financier on the pay staff. It's got card draw stapled to it, and it plays into White's catch-up mechanic of making you treasures when your opponents have more lands than you do. Alright, first up, best human creature ever printed, Thalia, Guardian of Thraben. Make non-creature spells cost 1 more. I am going to show you a few non-creature spells I think the deck needs because, frankly, there's a lot of humans you could play, but she is way up there. At the top, even. Oh, 1 more new card, Virtue of Loyalty. You're going to untap all your creatures and get counters on them at the beginning of your end step. That's awesome. It's not too often you get to play instant speed buffs, but Force of Virtue is going to be free in your deck. You're just going to play it on someone else's end step, and all of a sudden you're going to have bigger creatures. We've got an army in a can here with Adeline, Resplendent Cathar. It's going to dump human tokens onto the battlefield, and she is going to be hard to deal with in her own right. If we jump back into the Lord of the Rings set, you get Horn of Gondor. This card is specifically for humans, so obviously a great fit here. You also can play Boromir, Warden of the Tower. You get a bit of a silence effect, and it stops spells with no mana being paid for them. That's huge. The second best human ever printed, Esper Sentinel. Play it on turn 1 and draw cards as people don't pay for their mana rocks and things like that. Definitely an expensive card, but I mean, it's amazing for a reason. You'll need some removal in your deck, so we've got Cathar Commando. It has Flash, so for 3 mana you get to get rid of something right away, or you can play it and use it a bit before you destroy something. Alright, budget way to protect your team, Unbreakable Formation. 3 mana to give all your creatures indestructible seems like a good deal. I'm sure someone will say, yeah, let's play Teferi's Protection, and I agree. If you want to spend the money on that card, go ahead. But this is going to be way cheaper for you and probably do the job that you need it to do anyways. And we got some backup board wipe protection here as well. Angel of Glory's Rise. Take a look at that sweet art. When it enters the battlefield, exile all zombies and return all humans to the battlefield under your control. The big thing with a deck that's going to go wide with humans is what happens when there's a board wipe? Well, this allows you to bring them back. So for 7 mana, I think that's pretty good, especially in white. You don't get to see that ability too often. And this card is right there, all for the price of a couple gumballs. Hope that helps.